was 7 years ago today that Mower County and Mayo Clinic came and took Rico from my daughter Lindsay, which was absolutely devastating for her and for our entire family. It ended up costing Lindsay her life, and the medication that we didn't believe in, Lindsay didn't believe in, also took Rico's life. Rico lived to be 6 years old, which is kind of ironic because if on a lot of the stuff that we did back in the earlier days with Lindsay, because they tried to take Lindsay from us also back in about 1991. They weren't as aggressive as Mayo Clinic and Mower County. We've got a lot more to talk about on that or present, but we are under contract with another entity that's also working on this story. And so there's limited on what we can say and some of the things that we can go into, but I am going to start posting on this chip situation because Cheryl works with several people that have had their children removed or are in the same process that we went through. This is just part of the one court case that we went through. It's part of $100,000. If you've ever wondered what, or actually 150, if you've ever wondered what $150,000 looks like, that's part of it right there. I quit counting. You know, we lost our restaurant over this, our farm over this. I basically haven't worked for 7 years. You know, to say the least, this was quite devastating to everybody involved, but obviously more devastating to Lindsay and to Rico. Not getting into the case so much as to why Rico, you know, the whole story about Rico, because that's what we're working on with another venue. But it's more to kind of present to people that have seen this stuff happen or may be in the throes of this happening. Having your child removed, if you're going to fight the county, you are going to spend a lot of money, and most of these women do not have money. They probably don't have support from their family, and they're probably fighting with the father of the child, and which makes this very easy for the county to take the child and present a case that the mother shouldn't have the child, which most of it isn't true. When they came to take Rico from Lindsay, this is a 5-page document that the sheriff showed up with from Mower County. Mark May, what a gem. Anyway, when they showed up, we were lucky our lawyer was there. They showed up at our house, and they only came in with the back 2 pages because Mayo Clinic had not filled out the front 2 pages yet, or the front 3 pages yet. And somehow I guess that was good enough for the sheriff to come out and take the child. Another thing that we'll be getting into with the story is that Mark May, while he was kind of a secretary to the sheriff, he was, I think he still is, sheriff's deputy. The sheriff doesn't work for the county, the sheriff doesn't work for the government, the sheriff works for the people. So it's very important when the sheriff comes into your house, which is likely what's going to be, is the sheriff's going to come in, that they understand what's in these documents. You know, is this really so severe that they should be taking a child? And the reason on this very short video that I'm going to do right now, we ran across, Cheryl and I were sitting watching TV, and Cheryl asked me to look at a video that she ran across while we were going through. We have mounds, we have literally tubs of documents that we have to go through for some other avenues that we're taking here. But it was a picture of Rico, And as you can see, it's from the back side of Rico, and when she shut, I haven't seen any of this stuff. I've stayed away from it. It's really almost more than I can bear, even 7 years out. It might as well have been yesterday. But if you look at the video on Rico, and she said, look at this, and why did you take this video? And I had to look at it for a little bit, and I thought, oh, I don't get this. Well, then I remembered why I did take the video, and I took it because this is a picture of Rico while he was sleeping, and he was sobbing in his sleep. The second time that Mayo Clinic took Rico, they strapped him into a bed for over 50 days. He was not, you could go see him, but for the most part, that child, which was only a few months old, was laying, staring face up at a fluorescent light, and that was his life for those 52 days. We were able to go see him, but obviously he wasn't sleeping with his mother or being held by his father or anybody else for the majority of the day because he was legally being held by Mayo Clinic. The other thing to know is that when Rico was born, and that's another part that I'll go into, but not right now, they held him in intensive care for 2 weeks for no reason. We've got the documentation on what they claimed in court was some type of reasoning behind it. But getting back to the sobbing in his sleep, it's important to know that I never saw Rico cry maybe more than 2 times because Rico didn't know how to cry. And I know it sounds like, well, that's crazy. As soon as Rico was taken away from his mother, which was right after birth, Rico had several tubes put down his throat, put into intensive care, and was hooked up to all types of monitors. You couldn't take him out of the bed. The nurses begrudgingly at Mayo Clinic would once in a while let Lindsay hold him, but it was a big process because he had a bunch of wires. This many wires that were hooked to that little kid, and stuff running down his nose and his throat. He didn't cry for the first 2 years of his life, and he just didn't know how to cry. So when you see him on this video, and he's sobbing, that was as close to crying as he ever got. And that shows how traumatic his beginning of life was by being taken away from his mother needlessly. Now we've gone over several of these papers, and now I've realized I've got to put a lot of this back into context. Because on the face of what, when we finally did get the front pages of the document that they came and took Rico with, several of these, all of these proved to be untrue as far as Lindsay's reaction or what was said or what was done. And it was proved not true by the doctor himself in this paperwork that we're currently all going through right now to put this story together. But you need to know if your child has been taken by this corrupt system. Obviously there are some children that should, but this should have been the last result, or the last resort. And clearly, this wasn't even close to being the last resort when they came and took the child. It's a bunch of lies. And if you've been served with these documents, you will most likely see that you're not charged with a specific crime, very much like we see going on TV these days, whether you like our current president or not, he's not being charged with an exact crime. If they charged you, if your child was taken and you had a specific crime on here, you would be able to go in front of a jury. most of these cases, they don't want anything to do with a trial or a jury, in the sense that there will be a jury of people to decide whether you get to keep your child or not. Because most of this stuff is so corrupt and so misleading and such a business. This is a business. If these people don't have children to take, then they don't have a job. If you go over to Mower County and look and see the parking lot that these people park in every day when they come to work, they have, I would guess, 75 spots reserved. The public can't use that parking lot. They've got almost a whole square block of parking for these people. They need to keep turning kids. And the women that are being taken advantage of here are stuck in a situation that they're very likely unable to get out of. So for this part, I just wanted you to see the trauma that it did to that little boy and the trauma that it did to my daughter, which she passed away. They took Rico because she didn't want to have him put on the same medications that she was put on at 1 year of age. Out of all the children, 100% of the children in 1990 diagnosed with HIV. Lindsay was the only one that survived. She survived until this crap came along. All the rest, interestingly, and we'll show the documentation because we've used this number for years, only lived, the longest any of them lived out of the whole group was 6 years, to be 6 years old. Rico passed away a few months ago, and he was just 6 years old. And he didn't die from HIV. He died from a heart attack, which is a direct complication of the drugs that he was put on.